Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hi, can you guys tell I'm struggling to be on time right now? I think that ship has sailed. Oh my gosh, you guys. Hi. Hi, Catherine and Charlie. Good evening. Hi, Sydney. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Mama of 13. I just totally spaced on your name. It'll come to me. Martina. I'm on the big screen. Eek. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Susu. How's it going? I haven't talked all day either. I am just adjusting still some things. I forgot I needed to change thread color, and then I wound 2 bobbins because I only had 1 cone. And then I changed my mind. So I had to rewind 2 bobbins, change my needle, set up the serger camera, change my mind on that thread too. Martina number 2, that's right. That's right, of course. Oh, I burned myself too, of course, right? Didn't know my iron was hot. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Terry. Nice to see you guys and gals. How are you? All right, so first things first, I made a mistake cutting yesterday, and it was, and I really apologize for this, that's why I'm telling you right off the bat. Oh, you know what? Actually, I fused all the interfacing off camera like I usually do. Sometimes, you know. This little piece right here, you don't cut this in fabric at all. It's not that kind of fly. Because the fly's already on the short, which is very obvious since I cut around it. You just need interfacing, you need 2 of these, and I only cut 1 of them, and I cut them in fabric. So make sure you cut that, and I'll mention it again when we get to that spot so that you're not like, why do I have this pattern piece and what do I do with it? You know? Let's see. So, hi Beverly. Hello from your garden. Nice. It is not cool enough in my garden. I mean, it is when I'm walking out the car, but that's it. I switched to my old bins too because the little ones, I love them so much because they're clear and they stack. These don't stack. They're actually designed for this shelf thing I have so that it has these little like divots so that you can pull it out like a drawer and it hooks on the lip. It works like, you know, but the depth of these works so much better for my projects. They're uglier though, and they don't stack. And now my office is feeling pretty cramped, but it works better. So you're gonna start seeing my green bins again. So anyway, today we are starting sewing on these men's cargo shorts. So I am doing the view with the seat patch and the cargo pockets on the side. You don't have to do those. And just note that it has like a waist. It's very sleek. I love how cool this waist treatment is. It's not a sewn on waistband, and I don't think we've ever done one of those on the stream. So that's pretty cool. So yeah. Oh no, Terry. Oh God, that's a bummer. I'm really glad it wasn't the other way around though. So, oh, you lost some. Yeah, Sydney. You know, if you, I'm sure you know this, Sydney, but if you have like a thin fabric you can put over your plants when it's like that, it helps a lot because they get burned. So yeah, you could sew, you know, honestly, Terry, the seam allowances are only 3/8, so you could maybe get away with 5/8. Yeah, project bins are a great investment. I mean, if you have the bin pattern, you can make some, but that's a very expensive way to go. Because I need so many. I think I'm using 12 and they're all full. And they're all full of things we've talked about. You know, like I've got all the menswear projects. I've got that Luna camisole. I'm still determined to make PEDs. And I finally got fold over elastic. I think that'll work for that. I have the March top that I'm very badly embroidering. I got asked to test a pattern. That's in there too. I'll tell you, it's by Decades of Style. Very cool pattern. I think you guys are gonna love. And all kinds of stuff in there. So, and I had them stacked on my table, and it was they didn't fit in the bin, so they'd be like mounding, and then I would be stacking. It was getting a little dangerous. So, all right. So, Beverly, you volunteered to do timestamps, right? I'm totally keeping her to it. I can do my best to tell you. I was going to email you the steps, and I completely forgot to do that. I'm going to try and tell you the step, but I am going to do it in order. And you don't have to write a whole long thing. You can just say, you know, step 1, or you can just say the belt loops. Like you don't have to write anything. I just want the time and what I did. That's it. Sometimes, like when Ray does timestamps, they're adorable because she'll say, and then we decided to go back to the other method, and she puts a timestamp to that, which is pretty awesome because then at least it gives you an indication that maybe we made some changes. So it's up to you. But like I say, just jot it down. I don't really care as long as I have the time. And then I will type them into you don't even have to type them, just email them to me, and then I'll type them up so that they work. All right, so I'm going to do it in order, and these aren't sewn in the order I would normally sew them. They're not wrong or anything like that, but I may have to, it'll feel a little bit disjointed to me because you kind of bounce around in the pattern. So without further ado, let's start off. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the belt loops. Oh, and Terry's right. I did 2 of the welt pockets yesterday. I'm just going to... I'm going to put a few pages behind my clip. I did 2 of the welt pockets yesterday, and they are very simple. It's very well designed. I think, honestly, the hardest part about them for me is keeping track of what side I wanted to sew things on, and so I got confused with my right and wrong side. Thanks, Beverly. So here's one. I was experimenting with marking materials. My chalk is not sharp. It's like a wax crayon, actually. But this one came out pretty good. Also, I will say, Terry, I will tell you that this pocket feels a little shallow, because look at that. So if you want, I would actually think putting my hand into there would be a little bit more secure. So maybe if you wanted to take this pocket bag piece and cut it in at the fold, like fold it in half, because this is lined up at the top here. And then cut it right there and add about 3 inches in there. You would be making it about 1.25 inches longer. Oh my God, my hands look terrible. So, hi, Malin. So that's my tip. I think they're fine. My husband uses a really unique wallet. It's pretty slick. It's like a little, it looks like a little leather hard case. And it's actually slots for cards. And then you press the button and the button comes up. I got it for him as a gift and he really is taken to it. And there's a spot for billfolds in it. So it's a really small little thing. I also think he puts it in his front pocket. But if someone puts a phone in here, it's going to poke up or something like that. But you could also do, you know, a button loop coming from this seam right here and a button. And if you wanted, I think that that's pretty hard to close, you know, but it's just a thought. I'm just telling you my thoughts on it. I've already cut out my pockets and we saw how much I struggled to have enough fabric. I'm just going to keep it because like I said, I actually think a lot of my husband's pockets are still sewn shut at the top because they do that to keep the shape of them after you buy them. So he might not even use it. I think when he does, he just uses it to put his hands in his pockets or to pull his pants up. So here's my first one. This is when I got confused on the right and the wrong side of the fabric. But like I said, very easy to sew. It looks really nice without a lot of effort. I got you. All right. Yeah, right, Charlie? Exactly. Yeah, isn't there a little room for cash in it? But yeah, so many people don't carry cash. And coins, forget it. I mean, they didn't really carry coins to begin with anyway. That's what pockets are for, right? So he really likes that card thingy. At first he was kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. And then he was like, I really like this thing. So what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, I think I didn't review the steps. You would think by now I would know how to do the snaps. I should just draw myself a diagram and put it in my little snap drawer. But I think I'm going to put snaps on the cargo pocket flaps. I have 2 left, so I feel like that's the perfect reason to put snaps. And then I have tack buttons that match. So I'm going to do 2 snaps on the cargo pocket, the flap in the pocket, and then I'm going to do a tack button and buttonhole on the waist. So that's my plan there. Because I really was not as prepared as I probably could have been for this project. Since I didn't have pocket. I have 1 brass zipper left. I don't even know what those chinos take, but I better figure that out because that's next week. All right, so I'm going to do the belt loops first, and we're going to overlock them along one long side. And I'm going to try and kind of sew it the way they do in the instructions. So, but you know me, I don't ever do that, do I? So, all right, so we're going to just overlock one long side here. And if you did those little notches, I started to, but then I stopped. You want to do the other side long edge here. That's it. That's all we do for that. But they're not done. Let's get a bunch of this stuff right now. The one thing about using these bins is that they don't really fit over here very well. I swear, every time I use a pin now, I throw it away afterward. It's bad. Now you're just going to fold this in thirds, and I'm actually going to go the other way. So one of the things I did with my serger is I really struggled to find thread to match this, and this is just a tip for those of you using a serger, is I used 2 cones that were one color and 2 cones that were another color, and it's really hard to tell. So, and what I did was I did the lighter brown, darker brown, lighter brown, darker brown, and so you can see down the middle, there's the darker brown right there. And on the back, this is the darker brown here. So it kind of all just blends together. It's just a strategy if you're kind of struggling like I was for thread. I only had 4 cones and I needed 6 because of the way my machines are set up. Because I use 2 on my industrial, one's always winding a bobbin, and 4 on my serger. So what I did was I opted to have 2 on this machine. I could have just had 1 odd color on the serger, but it's just so nice when this is winding a bobbin when I'm finished with one. So yeah, anyway, it's just my little tip. Don't feel like all 4 cones need to be about the same. You know what, let's just iron this. Let's just drag this out. Let's just drag it out. Hi, Barbara. Nice to see you. Yeah, Sydney, I feel you on that. I have a lot of pins because I bought the big box. But remember the year I was like, this is the year I'm going to experiment. And then I ended up going with none of those because none of them were strong enough. And I thought I went back to just doing the quilting pins. And apparently, okay, what's wrong with my, why are you leaking? Why are you leaking? You did this once before. Well, thank you kindly not to leak. Yeah, I think that's a good plan, Nancy. My clips are under things, like the box is under things, but I get them out for things. I actually used, oh, that was a laundry basket. I was like, I just used clips. I like using them on thick stuff too. And these pins could not handle thick stuff. I just got a comment. I know someone was trying to be nice on like my ginger jeans thing. And you know, I think when I did those carriers, I sewed this piece, the belt loop, sorry. I sewed it right sides together, then turned it inside out. I made it really hard on myself. They were like, you know, you could just fold that. The instructions in the ginger jeans are way better. I was like, yeah, you are absolutely right about that. I'm trying to decide, do I want this? No, that'll be fine. Doing desk work. All right, so making sure. So these are pretty wide. They look nice though. So we're gonna edge stitch on both sides. I'm gonna try and catch. So this is what I was just thinking, like maybe I could have ironed this so that this serged edge goes almost all the way to this fold edge here. You don't want it to peek out so that it shows on this side like that. It's kind of a, you know, tricky balance. I think the key here really is, even if you do it a little towards the center, is just trying to do it parallel. But if you're not very parallel and you kind of do the, don't fret, because we're going to chunk this up into, I think, 5 pieces. And once you do that, even if it's wavy, there's something about it that kind of diminishes the waviness. Why does that sound really bad? Something sounds funny. No, I don't want that. I was like way over. I'm going to do it from this side so I can see I've already secured that edge of the... You know, I feel like on this canvas, using a heavier weight thread would probably be a good idea. Yeah, what is the sewing fairy telling me? I think the sewing fairy is telling me that I'm winding a bobbin. I just need to calm down. That's what I think the sewing fairy is telling me right now. And the sewing fairy is not even talking to me. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Oh, see, I slowed down and then I got crooked. Meow. Can't be an empty bobbin, right? Hi, Megan. How's it going? Nice. What are you charging? All right. So like I said, we're going to chunk this up into 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. These look terrible, by the way. Good thing I know the guy they're going to. Good thing his eyesight is about as good as mine, and he just won't notice when he's putting his clothes on. Didn't know that tip, did you? Okay. So let's look at that really bad one. Where's that really, is it this one here? So look at how really bad that is. But like I said, like once this is folded under, and this side's folded under, it still looks really bad. Never mind. Oh, there's always something to chart. That's so true. All right, so we got our belt loops, and you do want to do those first because you actually start putting them on throughout the process of making these shorts. All right, so now we're going to do our flaps, and I decided to keep track of my right and wrong side of the fabric because one side is softer and fuzzier, and I'm going to put that to the inside. And now I actually can't feel it. So meaning I'm going to make that the wrong side. All right, so when you do these points like this, one thing that's kind of helpful is, you know, let's fold it in half right here. And then that way we can see, we can sink our needle in that directly above the point. And then pivot, because it's kind of hard to tell. I'm just making sure, is this how they do this? Oh, so I'm doing the flaps now. Yeah. Set that aside. And then, yeah, let's fold this one in half here. And then that way, because when you're looking at it like this, it's really hard to tell when your needle is across from that point. And honestly, look at this. I didn't cut these very symmetrical, so that's going to help as well. This, you know, sometimes, you know, you can be kind of bad at one thing and then maybe compensate for it when you get to the sewing step. Like I'm bad at the cutting on these, so I can kind of smooth over those little weird things, you know? And Nancy, that's funny. It was a really long time before I needed glasses, and it happened really quickly. I never needed them. And then one year, I just started getting these headaches, and I couldn't figure it out. I went on vacation, and I was just kind of miserable. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't do anything. And because I didn't know it was my eyes, it took me a bit to figure it out. And I just started dreading certain things, and that made me go, I need to check my eyes. And so I went and checked. And they were like, well, you're actually the really rare person who is wearing your eyes out. And it's usually your eyesight diminishes over time due to age or other reasons. Maybe you always had that struggle, you know. But there are a few things you can do that kind of, you know, add to it. I'm just going to cut a little wedge here at the point of the pocket, just so that when it's turned right side out, it'll go like that, you know. And at the time when I had this happen, I was doing a ton of computer CAD work for pattern drafting, and you're grabbing these really tiny points on the screen. They didn't have different like background color modes early on with CAD, and they started adding them. And honestly, they started out with dark mode in CAD. So it's kind of funny to me when people give me flack for not liking dark mode on my apps, my social media apps or whatever, you know, you do a screenshot, people are like, hey, dark mode or light mode, you know. But the thing is, like, when you first started out, all CAD was on this glaring white screen, and you're constantly zooming in and looking at these really tiny points and grabbing them and, you know, altering the pattern, grading them, things like that, changing curves, you know, like these tiny little points on this glaring white background. And so then they came out, oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't on the glaring white background, it was on the black background, and it was so hard to see because the contrast wasn't high enough for the points. So you're seeing these colored lines on this black background. They kind of, it was like they were just sinking into the background. And then their solution was a white background, and it was just this glaring thing. It was like the opposite, and we were always struggling. And then finally, a couple of developers made it so you could change it, and I just made mine to like this off-white thing so it wasn't so glary. And I also read a lot in bed. I knit a lot, and I sewed a lot. So I was doing all these really high intense things with my eyes, and they were just like, yeah, I think you're just gonna have to, this is just gonna be what you're dealing with now. As you get older, it'll just diminish a little bit. It's no big deal. And I had an astigmatism too. And so that's when it started. So it's funny to me because I don't like wearing them, but I have to. And they are steadily getting worse and worse. I don't read in bed anymore, but I look at my phone. You know, let's iron these. I'm gonna iron the flaps. I'm gonna kind of press the seam towards one direction, just to make it a little crisper of a line when I go to iron the edge. It kind of helps right there. I can really get it on the edge without, you know, like, I don't know, I always struggle to get it on the edge, but doing that I've found really helps. It's something I've kind of developed over the last couple of years. It's the same thing, because if I do it like this, if I sit here and I roll it, it works, but I do feel like one side will be more on the edge than the other. So I just do this. I don't spend a lot of time on it, I just kind of do it. It doesn't matter what side. I would love to get eye surgery, but I would be really nervous to do it. And I don't think they do it for people whose close-up vision is getting worse. Let's see how I did as far as one to the other. Not bad. Let's see how I did symmetric-wise. Not bad on that one. This one might be a little not as good. Oh, it's not bad. Hi, Libby. How's it going? Where did the morning go? Yeah, I was totally late. Okay, we're going to top stitch these. What do they recommend? Five millimeters from the edge. If you want to do a double needle top stitch, you can. You can't use a twin needle to do that though, because you have angles here and you can't turn corners with a twin needle. I'm kind of debating on whether I should use heavier weight thread for the top stitch. You know, you guys? Let's see what we got. Do we have anything? What do we think? I don't know if I have anything that will work. We could use 2 strands of thread. That worked really good on that project I did that on. Remember that? So if I use 2 strands of thread, I have 2 bobbins now. No do-overs there, right? You know, and a gal I play games with, she did have that surgery when she was really young, and then she had to have it redone recently. So I think that's okay, you know, maybe it wears off, maybe you grow out of it, I don't know. Let's see, can I do this? think I can. All right, so I'm gonna use 2 strands of thread. I'll probably just sew the shorts with both strands, the whole pair, because that won't affect the sewing like it would to use the really thick strand of thread. Come on, get in there. Someone posted, what's your least favorite thing to do? And I was like, in sewing, I was like, thread and needle live on camera. That's my least favorite thing to do. I think it was Christy that said that. Oh my gosh, come on, get in there. All right. Hoy, I think I took a year off my life to do that. I'm just using all the same holes and stuff. I think the last time I did them at the same time. I can't remember. What was that project on? That was on the Dawn jeans. I really wanted white top stitching. So I used 2 strands of thread. It worked really great. Can't even tell. Just looks thicker. I feel like this will work. It's nice to be able to use the thread cradle of the bobbin. All right, now I get both of them through the needle. Tonight, she comes tonight. Yay, Libby. How exciting. Who cares about losing your sewing room? Piece of cake. All right. Yeah, see that? Don't you think? That compared to that? I'll put them side by side. All right. I don't know what 5mm is. I can kind of feel the divot where I did my slit, so hopefully I got that. I turned that in the same spot. Straighten out this corner. Ooh, I got hung up there. I'm going to do 2 rows. Oh, that's pretty good. I found the perfect color thread that matched, but I didn't have enough to do for the project. I was going to use something lighter. I thought this looked a little better. This looks a little wonky. All right, so we have those. Let's do our pocket, and then we're going to do the snaps. Sorry, it might take me a little bit to do. Oh, really? Oh, really, Molen? First Ashton top. Oh, your depth perception. Oh, that's interesting. Well, okay, so what kind of welcoming details are we talking about, Libby? All right, so there's a little pin tuck and a pleat. So we're going to do a little, you know, pin tuck on here, and I think we are going to do it on this side, right? Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to iron this real quick. So I'm working on the pocket pin tucks. Beverly. All right, so we're gonna fold it, match up these notches, and iron it. Where's that? There it is. Holy heck, how come I can't? Oh, there we go. All right. It was very nice that Wardrobe by Me shared my schedule and the fact that we're sewing these. I love seeing that kind of support. That is what we're talking about, right? Do this one a little bit better. Yeah, I'm wondering that same thing, Nicole. Did you do the all-in-one facing? So if you did, Sydney, I don't know if you noticed. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed on that sleeveless top I made. I can't remember if you were here. I decided to do the edge stitching. I did it because the pleats were too strong and they were pushing the facing to the outside. They were the dominant part of that, so I did the edge stitching, and it looks really nice. I did it on the armhole so it matched the neckline. I actually did that off camera because I forgot to do it with you guys. So yeah, if you did the one piece, it's really hard to understitch a one piece facing. Yeah, exactly. Right, Nicole? Like, I like that clean look too. All right, so this pin tuck, we're just going to sew really close to the edge here. I think that these get pushed one way and the other way. Let's see. Oh, they both go one way on the left pocket and then the other way on the right pocket. So I'm going to put my top stitch thread on both these pin tucks on this side and the other on the other side. I'm just thinking about it since my thread is different top and bottom. We're just going to go really close to the edge here. And we're going to do it again. And then let's not lose sight of that. So now we're going to I was just kind of thinking about like sewing a pin tuck on the back, but I think that might be a little too much. I don't think you have to do that. So now I'm just going to match up these notches again, make a pleat, fold them both the same direction, and I'm going to do the same thing top and bottom, just to secure them. When you do stuff like this, because we've sewn this little edge, it can get a little stretched out. So make sure that you kind of smooth this out, because I can tell right here, I'm kind of curious about that. Let's check it out. You know, you might consider doing an edge stitch on the underside of the pleat. Looking good. Ooh, that sounds nice, Lynn. Pin tuck on the other one. Make sure all your edges are lined up at the top. You want it to be perpendicular. These are the kinds of things that are really easily get kind of off, you know. They seem really easy, and then you're like, why is it kind of like winging out? Like, why is this one pleat out of all four winging out, you know? It helps also to stitch these down closer to the seam line. I didn't do that, but that will help stabilize them a little better. I'm just going to trim a little bit of these threads since they're kind of stout. All right, so now we have a left and right pocket. And we're going to hem the top. So from the top edge of the pocket down, top edge of the pocket to the hem seam, closing the pleat. I think that just means hem the pocket and you go through the pleats. All right, we're gonna iron this real quick. Oh yeah, that Brussels washer linen. This stuff behaves pretty good. I have a notch on one edge. Let's see if I made sure I had the same. Oh, I do. Nice. Okay. Just making sure I was consistent with my left and right based on that notch. So I'm just going to fold it on the hemline. It's about an inch. It looks a little fatter than an inch. You're going to be going through a lot right here, thickness-wise. Because I'm doing the canvas, actually, I think I'll probably overlock this edge and then just top stitch it down to kind of help. Oh yeah, I bet those are really handy, Nancy. I keep meaning to get some of those. I definitely have one for my home machine that I like using. Just don't use the home machine very much. I'm going to do this from the right side because I have the stouter thread on the top, the 2 strands. Make sure all this is nice and flat and you're staying nice and perpendicular in something like this. I sometimes like to look and make sure I'm going to get the exact same effect on the other pocket, you know? That's so me to not, you know? All right, so we have our 2 cargo pockets with the pleats. Right, Nancy? Those little things really help. So let's see, if we use the, I think that, I'm just going to fold this in half and fold this in half and line it up like that. There we go. All right. Let's look for the flap. I thought I had it right here. Here we go. So let's see, this has a buttonhole marking on the flap. I'm going to do a snap. So I'm just going to kind of look at the placement. So I have a seam allowance I need to account for to get it onto the short. I'm just going to think about this. I like this edge to be nice and tidy. Maybe I'll overlock it so I don't have to worry about it too much. I may need to raise up. I think something like there would work. So maybe what I'll do is look at it like this. I'm going to place my pocket on the short about 1/4 of an inch, the raw edge 1/4 of an inch above the pocket. I'm just kind of saying this out loud so I remember. And then I'll fold it over like that. Make sure it's symmetrical. Ooh, Lynn, that's awesome. I know someone is making them for themselves because they like straight fit items. Oh, look at that. I'm right on top of the marking that was already on the short. So cool. Let's do that then. All right, so we're going to use that as our upper snap marking. Transfer it to the other flap. Does your husband wear these kinds of shorts? I love this kind of sewing. It's kind of somewhat heavy duty with lots of top stitching and structure. It's kind of my favorite kind. I feel like it's the easy kind of sewing until I hear other people talk and they're like, All right, so let's put the snap on these two pieces, and so let me get my tools. I need my hammer. I forgot to have it ready. And you. And you. Oops. New curtains, flowers, favorite foods. Okay, Louie, I'm going to check that out. I love it. Hi, Ursula. How's it going? I saw you at the end of yesterday's stream. Were you just lurking yesterday? Totally welcome to do that. Sorry, I still haven't got my glasses adjusted. They're killing me, man. All right. So these are the snaps. I got all these snaps for my Kelly anorak from a place called Maker's Fabric. I really love the service I got, and I love the thing. The name of this place escapes me every time, so I'm really glad I just left it in these little pouches. Okay, so this is the die. All right, I'm gonna do my usual look up the Closet Core website. I always go to it. I'll give you guys a link to this. This is the place I always go. You're never late. You're always welcome. All right, there we go. So I always go to this spot for the setting the snaps. It's just because I was doing the Kelly anorak at the time, so this is the place I go. I'm sure there's lots of places you can find this information. Oh, this isn't the place I go. Wait a minute. This is a whole bigger post. Let me give you a different link. Oi, can you please make this obvious? Oh my God. Here we go. This is where I go. Okay. Has anyone bought that snap kit on Waywack? There's a picture of one in this tutorial, kind of like 4 pictures down. It's a box like my button box, and it has all kinds of snaps. I'm kind of curious what you think of the sizes you get and what you get in there. All right, so sorry it's taking me so long. God, that hammer's hammered. I didn't mean to say that, but it's true. These are tack buttons. These are snaps. All right, so we have the top. We have the bottom. We have extra pieces. Go figure. Right? Oh, these go here. These go here. Like that. So you have your little cap, the post on it, and then you have the, essentially the female side with the receiving end for the snap. Right? So wait, yeah. I have this, wait. Is that really what they do? Yeah. I guess it depends, huh? I always thought of snaps going like this part was the top, but that is not the case in this, you know? Oh, there you go, Lynn. They're 3 inches too low, Sydney. What the, is that the linen, do you think? All right, let me pay attention so I can get this done so poor Beverly can be like, am I writing this down or not? Okay, so for this one here, I'm going to make a little hole with this die. They give you a little die. The set is kind of discounted because the die is not very pretty. I don't want to hurt my mat, so that's why I'm being kind of cautious. Plus, this actually is what the hole on my table here is, and that it irks me to no end every time I see it. I don't know how it happened, because I'm pretty careful about protecting my surface. There we go. All right, so we have a hole through there. Put the cap. Put the other side on there, and then did they put it on a little like, oh yeah, they do, okay. The little mini like anvil, here it is. I can't see chat, sorry. I only have 2 of these. This is why I'm being so careful too. I want to make sure that I use the right one. And I have so many tools now. This one here. All right, let's make sure all this is level. I'm using the little tool with the point. There's nothing. Sorry, I know that's probably really loud. Okay, here we go. There's one. The first one's always the worst. It's the second and third one that you screw up on. Get a little confident. This one's not very level. See, I told you it's the second and third one. Okay. And then we have these two for the bottom. Pretty sure it's this tool here. Oh, it looks like the same tool. Sorry, I'm almost done. I keep getting my my scroll wheel stuck and it scrolls uncontrollably. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut a hole. No. Okay, put the post through. And then this little guy on here. This feels kind of weird. This feels wrong. It's right? Okay. This feels not right. This doesn't feel right. Why does this not feel right? That feels better. I do need to keep an old cutting board in my studio. Okay, I'm just double checking. Yeah, right? Okay. Okay. Let's just do it. Phew. No prob, as my friend would say. Okay. Yeah, so I'm putting this one behind right here through the hole, this one on top, putting it on this little anvil die thing with the bumps to kind of keep it seated there. I'm using this tool that goes over that piece and then I'm whacking. Sorry, downstairs. All right, we're done. Phew. Ooh, that one felt weird. This one feels crooked. It went like this. I may have to fix this one. Yeah, this one may be funky. All right, well, we'll have to fix that. We can do it later. It'll just be a lot easier if we didn't have to do it later because of the how hard it is to sew. All right, let's carry on though. I'll fix it. What's my backup plan? So what if I can't get this to work and I have to remove this? I mean, worst case scenario, I'm cutting and sewing a new flap and a new pocket, right? That's like worst case scenario, because if you didn't have fabric, that would be the worst case scenario. And then I can just do another snap set. I'm ordering more anyway. Or I do a button and buttonhole. Aw, Nancy, thanks. Oh, do I have alerts on? Oops. Here we go. Hey, thanks, Nancy. I turn alerts off when I record videos. Yeah, their tutorial is really good, Lynn. Hi, So Esme, how's it going? We did a ton of these on the anorak. I did sew the Kelly anorak, and I did a ton of these on there. I did do 2 of them, though, reversed towards the inside of the garment, which is kind of funny. All right, now we're going to be doing the front pockets. After all that, we're not even going to be using these right now. I wish I could put my bin up here. All right, so they call these pattern pieces big pocket and front pocket bag small. You need the facings as well. These right here. So these are, okay, so pocket bag with straight stitch, sew the facing to pocket bag with straight stitch, repeat on both sides. All right, so I just wanted to see how they were recommending it. So this one right here goes to the small, this like narrower piece. We're just gonna go to the small one. The wider one goes to the big one. This line right here is, you're gonna stitch down through here to make the pocket more defined so it doesn't go all the way to the center front where the fly is. All right, so what I was just looking at to see how they finish it is I was wondering if this edge right here was turned under, overlocked and stitched down, or sewn and turned. And they just say just lay it on here and stitch it down. So now I want the right side of my fabric to face out of my pocket bag. So I'm going to sew these to the wrong side. And by wrong side, I also mean that this is the side that when I put my hand in the pocket, it's the palm of my hand touches. Just for reference, I think that kind of makes it a little easier to keep track. If your fabric is really hard to tell apart, you're going to want to make sure that you mark like left and right and you don't get confused. Nobody gets confused right here, right? So what way do we want to do it? See, I personally don't have a preference. I think the fastest way to do it would be to overlock it, top stitch it down. No one's going to see this at all. The other pocket lays on top of it. You're going to see a slash right here. This right here, it shows because it's the outer fabric. The clean way maybe would be to like turn it under and edge stitch it. And then you could also figure out where that lines up like this. And I'm just going to put a little notch for like a 1/4 of an inch turn. We'll do something tricky here. And now we can line up this raw edge. Oh shoot, which one was it? There's already a notch up there. To that little notch I just made. We'll sew it at a 1/4 of an inch. You don't need to back tack because we're going to top stitch it. And then we can iron it and it's nice and clean finish just like that. Iron. Just like that. So I'll show you how I do that again. The quick and dirty way. Because this is, if you were, like notching a home pattern is really different than in commercial patterns. They don't notch notch so that when you're lining up as you're sewing it, it's going to make the most sense. And so that's what they would do. They wouldn't put the notch, like I feel like in home sewing, the notch would be where this folded under. But in a commercial pattern, they would put it where the raw edge lines up. So there's no mistaking where that goes. Because then they really can't just turn under any amount. They have to sew it at the correct seam allowance. And it kind of is like a double way to ensure that that happens. Because if they just did, say, turned under and edge stitch, they could do any amount, and then some of it maybe to make the pocket too shallow. Which one is it? Is it this one down here? I think it's this one down here. Yeah, okay. You could also just zigzag that edge. Just make sure it is finished. You don't really want it unraveling and those threads showing, coming out of your pocket. If you don't have a serger, this is a nice way to go. Or you could just turn it under and top stitch it. It's just a little trickier. All right, Sydney. Ooh, have fun. Have a good lunch date. Yeah, right, Terry. I am going to follow them pretty good. Thanks, Rebecca. I hope he likes them. All right, so this is the facing for this edge here, right here. And this is essentially the, I have to think about this. This is facing out, so this is the right side. And we're going to sew it like this and turn it to the inside, right? Wait. I'm getting myself confused here. I want this to finish like this, right? So I want it to go, yeah, so I want this to go wait, is that what I want? Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. This, I need to look at this. Wait a minute. I think I'm interpreting this incorrectly. Oh. Places, wait a minute. Oh. Oh, this is, yeah, okay. This is not the way I think this is sewn. So I think you just lay this on here, and the same kind of thing. You don't sew this edge and clean finish it. I was about to do that, and that would have been wrong. Because this edge needs to go to the actual pants right here. So you don't want to do that. Like you need to clean, you don't want that clean finished, because then you have a clean finished seam that needs to sew to your pant, your shorts. The computer's slower? That's interesting. It's usually whatever the faster internet connection, you know. I find that if I'm watching a stream on my desktop, it's way more on track with what they're doing. Or it's closer to the time. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to clean finish this edge. Same thing, fold it back, line it up. Didn't get that very lined up, did I? Ironing it will give you a better result. I'm just kind of folding it back about 1/4 of an inch. In the instructions, it just says lay the piece down and, you know, top stitch it down. But then that would leave a raw edge to the inside of your pocket. And that, you know, it's okay, but you're probably going to want it to be finished. Trying to make up a little time for not ironing, by not ironing. All right. So now it says place a small pocket bag on top of the big pocket bag, right sides facing. And then align the small bag to the big bag along the bottom curve of the pocket. Okay, so I think I'm going to do a French seam here. So that means I'm going to put this together, wrong sides together first. And I know you're seeing the print of my pocket as probably the right side, but that's considered the wrong side. I always get confused with this too. Only because I want the print side of my pocket showing to the inside of the short. So I always have to kind of think it through and place it so that I don't get confused. You know, we're not sewing a ton of these, so it's not like we get to practice, you know. I'm going to trim this a little bit here. Even out all these weird edges that I got. I'm going to iron that, and then I'm going to do the last seam. I really like a nice, clean, finished pocket on the pocket bag on the bottom, on the inside of the garment. That's just me. I go for the flattest and cleanest. But I think for me, if it makes it less bulky and flatter, I'd go for that over clean. That's just me. It's why I went with the overlocked edge when I hemmed the pocket, rather than turning it under twice and clean finishing it, because I would prefer that, but on the canvas that would have been a little bulky. I feel like something happened to my little scissors lately. I hope not. All right, so I'm gonna iron both of these. Yeah, the pocket fabric is definitely a surprise. Oh, the flat rivets. Wait. What are you talking about? Okay, wait. Oh, speaking of hammers and anvils, does anyone know bulk source for those nice flat jean rivets like you get in the kits? You know, I was asking that earlier, Libby, if anyone knew about that kit that you can get on Waywack. If you scroll up in the chat, I put a link, the second link, to the Closet Core website tutorial that I always follow when I put on my snaps and rivets from doing the Kelly Anorak. That's why I default to it. And you can see, like, the third photo down, there's a box. I'm pretty sure that's the one you can get from Waywack. It probably isn't, but they do have something like that on Waywack, and I'm just curious if anyone's gotten it and what they think. I would definitely check out what size the diameter is, so you don't get like ones meant for baby clothes if you're wanting to do jeans or menswear or heavy duty stuff. All right. So this is the, he's going to see, let's see. This is what he's going to see on the inside of his shorts. I think that's what you're gonna see. I hope I thought that through correctly. It'll be pretty cute. If not, you'll know which piece to cut in which crazy pocket fabric by the time I'm done. Right? The flat rivets. Yeah, and so like I said earlier, my kit came from Maker's Fabric. They're getting the exact same ones you're seeing on the closet core. I thought it was a good deal, and the tools you can get as a part of the kit or not. And then it was a discount because the cutting die doesn't match the other tools. There's a link. Oh, Rebecca can't post links. It's nothing against Rebecca. None of you can post links unless you're a mod. So where were you? Did you post a link, Rebecca? I don't even see that you did. Yeah, so it probably just automatically deleted it. Just tell me where you're doing it and I'll search it for you and I can put it in there for you. I don't have a moderator in here to help you, and I'm not looking at it from mod view. I'm looking at exactly what you guys see. So that's why I don't see that it's been deleted. I don't watch mod view because it's hard to follow along for me. All right, I'm just doing my last seam here. You don't even really need to do that one, but it is nice. It makes the inside nice and clean in there. But, you know, you could just leave the raw edge in there if you want. I won't think less of you. Yeah. So, oh, from Gold Star. Okay, let me look for you. Ray, how's it going? How was the dentist? Or should I ask? They have different kinds, Libby. So the ones in the closet core tutorial are spring snaps. All right, so I'm just going to reference this pattern piece here for the stitch line that is right here. This just makes it so that the pocket bag kind of ends before it gets to the center front fly. I'm just going to leave my paper on here and stitch it next to it. Why not, right? Like that. Both pocket pattern pieces have this line on there, so it makes it kind of easy. You can grab either one. Why am I turned around? Oh, here we go. Getting lost in the sauce. All right. Okay, so now we're going to add these pockets to the front pants. I can't believe we've only done this so far. I have a little bit too much going on over here. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, if you're following along with me or sewing these anytime soon, I cut one piece incorrectly yesterday, and it was this fly pattern piece. I accidentally cut those out of fabric, and I only cut one out of interfacing, and both of those is wrong. You just need two in interfacing and no fabric, and then you fuse it to your pattern piece. And that's what made me catch it. I was like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. So make sure you make that correction. You probably figured it out by now. You probably figured it out when you got to that interfacing stuff like I did too. That's awesome, Ray. All right, so we have this pocket slant here, right? Pretty sure this one here. I'm just making sure I get the correct one. It always confuses me. So this is how I want my pocket to end up, like this, with this edge clean finished, and with that there. So this is correct. So we're gonna put this right sides together, this slit, this slant right here, this pocket opening. I think it's 3/8 inch seam. They don't ever seem to say it's different. Yeah, Nancy donated. Let's watch it again because we like seeing it. Thank you, Nancy. Yay, we like the little kitty. All right, so we'll iron that and then we'll top stitch it. And then we get to go do the fun welt pockets. I'm pretty sure that's next. All right, so same thing, right sides together. This kind of fabric, I have a feeling I know where they bought this fabric from because I have the same exact canvas from a few projects from doing chicken boots. And it grabs every thread because my canvas did the same thing. And I was always a little nervous, like, shoot, I'm doing this for like the knitter world. I'll bet their yarn just catches, every little yarn just sticks to that bag. Oh, you have a very important question. I have a feeling you're going to say something funny. Is it about Loki? Loki's doing great. Oh, is it Terry or Terry? That is actually a very important question, and Terry probably doesn't mind either, but you never know. It's always nice to ask. Okay. Just give it a nice little pressy press. See, looking good. This looks lighter in color. We're gonna not think about it. You knew she does. Isn't classically 1R men? I don't know. Does it even matter anymore? I mean, I have the name Sarami, so I feel like all bets have been off with names since my whole life. Like, I've never really thought any of that stuff mattered. It used to really bug me when people would say my name incorrectly or spell it incorrectly. And as I got older, it started bugging me less. I don't care anymore at all. If you know me really well and we're like really close friends and, you know, we're on the Christmas card list, then I'm a little bit like, really? You don't know how to spell my name still, you know? But like if I've met you over the internet, I don't expect anyone to see it spelled, you know? All right, so if you're doing these in more of like a dressy fabric, not a canvas, you might want a nice clean look by just understitching this pocket to the inside here. I think I'm gonna do a double needle look so that they look a little bit more rugged, you know? Make sure you don't catch any of your pocket. And you got all this nice and lined up. No need to backstitch. In fact, it'll look cleaner if you don't, because you don't want your backstitch kind of hanging down into the body of the short. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm just going to stitch it along the waist here, just stabilize it. It's a little bit off there. And I'm going to do it at the side seam here. And now the fronts are ready to get their fly and to get the cargo pocket eventually as well. Heidi, aw, thanks Heidi. Why didn't we get an alert? What is that little bird doing? Thank you. That's really nice of you, thanks. You guys are awesome. Right, Terry? You and I and top stitching, right? We know. We know what we like. We know what we like. Yeah, right? At that point, it becomes passive aggressive. Exactly. I have had people do things like that with my name, especially people in positions of authority, like, say, a school administrator. And I see it with my daughter a lot. In fact, I was there when it happened recently. And they act like they had any choice in naming themselves, you know? I feel like I'm stitching wrong. Okay. So, you know, it's the whole, like, you know, maybe, like, I remember one person repeatedly when I was a kid being really passive aggressive, and it was really directed at the fact that my mom was a single mom. So the person would treat me, you know, like I was less because of that, you know. Oh, I just slid out my pin. I feel like it was this one here. You know, like, my dad leaving my mom was my mom's fault, and here she is doing the heroic work of raising me all by herself. And so you're going to be petty and penalize me for being named Sarah-me? I just don't get that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff. This is why this is the one thing you'll hear me talk about occasionally is they're treating people as with common sense and dignity. You just never can go wrong with that, and I don't see any reason to make someone feel bad for anything out of their control. Like, I've told you guys, I game with someone who tries to make me feel bad about how bad I am, and I'm just like, imagine being that person that tries to make someone feel bad for being bad at something. Like, where's the honor in that? No one feels worse about being bad at something than me. You know, like, I wish I was better too. Like, trust me. You don't even have to live with it. You don't even have to play with me if it bugs you, you know. But trying to make me feel bad because I started gaming just like 3 years ago and I'm not very good and I don't care to do it to relax, like, come on. And then this woman to my daughter the other day was like, so my daughter's name is Cricket, but it's not her real name. She's gone by it since before she was born. Everybody calls her Cricket. Moving to this area, they have a little bit more problem with her being named Cricket. She doesn't have to go by Cricket. She's very flexible. She's like, you can call me Isla. It's fine. But she had a doctor say, so where'd you get the idea to get that name? And I'm like, we're here for a medical reason. Why are you talking? What is going on here? And my daughter was like, my mom calls me that. You know, like, by the way, can we talk about my issue here? Because I'm really uncomfortable. You know, like, come on. Oh, man. Your mother only improve your daughter. She always felt. Yeah, it's weird. Oakley dokley. We're going to put in a belt loop right now. Not so fast, Duffy. We need 2. Let's pick my best 2. Right? These are the ones he'll see in the mirror. This one is really just rubbish. Oh my God, they're all so bad. Wow, that one and this one. These are the 2 best ones. Sorry, husband. All right, and so we have a notch here. I know I saw the notch. Yeah. Is it the double notch? It's usually like 1.5 inches in front of a pocket. All right, so we're gonna line that up. From Clan of the Cave Bear. Oh man, I remember when my mom read that book. She was really into it. Forgot about that thing. All right. Just placing the first 2 belt loops on the front waist, putting them right side down, and then we're just gonna tack them and leave them there. And now, these are ready for their next step. They're looking pretty good though. You know, it's inside, outside. So maybe if I hadn't done the double stitching of putting those facings there, it would just have 1 row. That might look a little cleaner. Let's get rid of this messy back stitch right here. This is why I hate back stitches. I was just reading a thread, like people talking about their back stitch. And I was like, ooh, I know what you're talking about here. Let's get rid of this one. This one doesn't show as much because I did it from the other side, from the right side. So. Thank you, Terry. Are you, Nancy? That's funny. All right, so next, Beverly, is the seat patch. What time is it? Ooh, it's only 12:30. Well, kind of only, huh? We're gonna do the seat patch now. All right. So we have this curve, and it says fold the curved edge back, fold the curved edge of back reinforcement to the back side and press, place the reinforcement on top, align the notches, pin in place, top stitch reinforcement to the back, 1/8 inch from the edge, also based along the back rise and seam. So we can try and just fold this under and see this. I think this is the right side. And let's see on this. Yeah, I think this is the right side, right? But I have a feeling doing this curve, just turning it under and pressing it, it may be a little tricky, right? So let's put in a easing stitch, as I like to call it. I really don't want to unthread 1 needle or 1 thread. What do we think? Come on, Jeremy. Suck it up, Buttercup. I mean, honestly, it is gonna save me time, and I'll just rethread that. Like, I was just about to go through agony to iron this under and get a nice smooth curve just because I didn't want to thread that. All right, so I'm just gonna put a stitch just inside that seam line. I'm like right next to it. I will admit I'm kind of cutting it close. But it's a seat patch, so as long as you're consistent with your left one and your right one so that they look the same, I think that you're doing good. I didn't change my stitch length. If you're using a really heavy fabric, you might want to make the stitch a little longer. I'm probably going to struggle a little bit, but I still kept it the same length. Because we're not going for gathers, we're just going to kind of ease it. Kind of like what we do when we're doing a set-in sleeve. Call me a monkey? Am I your sewing monkey? I'm your trained sewing monkey. Probably didn't need to start at the top. Well, there's still curve up here. All right, so I'm just gonna pull a little bit, just like like that much is probably good. And then let's pull from the bottom so we don't have to try and do the whole stretch, because then you might break the thread. There we go. I'm just more dexterous holding it like this. There we go. Ray! Aww. Thank you, Ray. Where's the alerts, man? Did Heidi get hers? Yeah, Heidi got, oh, there it is, okay. You still can't picture what the seat patch is. Have you ever seen the, I showed a picture. Maybe you just didn't see it because you've only gotten to see the front page picture. So right here, this is the back. So it's just a reinforced patch. You know, like if you're sitting on a bed of nails or scooching on the ground, you know. Come on, Libby. You know. All right, so we got one. So, wait, I wanted to read your thing, Terry. So, wait, so this is this one, and this is this one. All right. Do you do this? You trimmed it. Oh, that's smart. You just did it right away. I like it. I like it. That's funny. I used to do things like that, too, before I streamed. That little sticker's really cute. You guys got new, you're all doing these little stickers today. Are these new? Is that a lemon and a lime? That's pretty cute. He's chilling. Come on. This one's going to give me a problem. Come on. Do you ever notice that when you're doing a gathering stitch or an easing stitch like this, that when you do the stitch like along a cross grain or a length grain or on a bias, that it is easier or harder? Yeah, on the outside, Libby. Must make menswear. It's so fun. Yeah, I think like these are going to be like his outdoor work paint shorts. I don't know. I see these things on everyday streetwear, you know, unnecessary to like walking around the streets of, you know, paradise. So it may be just a look, because I'm also doing the cargo pockets. That's so smart. Wait, I already did this side. How did I just flip it over and do this side? Okay. I'm having trouble with this one. Just gonna undo a few stitches so that I have more to grab before I break it. Terry was kind to future Terry. You get a little hiccup in your stitching, you not even notice, and it just kind of griefs you the whole time you're trying to slide it. Like right now, this is kind of a struggle. I don't want the thread to break. And this won't look gathered when it's all sewn. You know, and, oh, I broke it. We'll just keep going a little bit. You could also like, you know, sew an edging to it or something, but I just think like this is just the better way to go. You're never sure what thread to pull? I say, like, I think that there is a school of thought when you're doing gathers, like you should do the top or the bobbin. I personally think that you should just do the same on every garment so that you remember and you don't have to think like, you're like, oh, I always pull from the top side. So then you know when you go to the other end. And then that way you just don't have to think about it. You're like, I know me personally, you know, I always pull from the top, and then you just know. So I think whatever makes it easier for you, you do that. If we were doing a lot of couture sewing, like maybe I should trim that, huh, Terry? Did I just do like too big of a seam allowance? Maybe I did. Maybe I should have done a narrower seam allowance. Terry, you had the right idea, trimming that, because I don't want all those little puckers. Look at that nice curve. All right. Okay, this is going this side. I'm trying to reach chat and iron. Don't do that. So let's kind of slide this all the way to get that stitching line to the edge here. Like this. Okay, iron, you're hot. I get it. I get it. Let's loosen that a little bit more. Oops. So now it's all pre-curved and we can just stitch it down. I'm gonna get this a little bit closer to the edge. A little hot today. It's a little hot. Ah, that is such a good tip, Lynn. I have heard of that and I've never remembered to try that. So smart. I love that. Yeah, because then you could just open up the seam, press it, take out the stitch, and it would be pressed back. You guys are so smart. All right, let's make sure I have the same. I want it to match, you know? I do feel like this is the side it goes to. I'm just making sure. All right. I thought we pulled these apart already. This is the dart for the welt pocket. Maybe I should do one welt pocket today and then one on Saturday. That way folks can see it both days. I'm going to do a dedicated video to it too. From a Sonia Phillip pattern, yeah. Do I like that iron? I do, Hannah. I will tell you, Hannah, that I am not one of those folks that goes for the latest and greatest things. So, but I think that there's some really amazing stuff out there now. I try and go for things that are just really easily accessible. Would I turn my nose up at a brand new Aliso iron or a gravity-fed iron? Absolutely not. I would totally be happy to have one of those. But I got that one at Target. It's I've bought 1, 2, 3 of them so far. So it works. It's $80. It's a Rowenta. It works great. I really like it. What I like about an iron is I like it to be really heavy, have really great steam, and I like the plate to be as pointy as possible to get into those like nooks and crannies. I'm just rethreading my machine, you guys. I don't know if you can see. Wait, that looks really weird right there. Yeah, something's weird right there. Oh no, yeah. Why are there 3 strands right there? Oh, I see. What the heck? I just got to take these out all the way. Oh, I'm about to lose it. Why did you guys decide to knot up like that? I don't understand. Thought we liked each other. All right. Yeah, so, yeah, like I said, it's nothing fancy. I see all those people getting those really nice irons, and they look really great. And I know someone here has a gravity-fed iron and absolutely loves it. So, yeah. But I think for 80 bucks, the only reason I have one at home. I like it so much that it's the one I use at home. I don't actually think I should do these both at the same time. I'm gonna. And then one of mine was for work, and then eventually it just started, you know, not doing great, but it had been dropped a bunch, and it had just worked a lot. So it definitely, I got a very good amount of life out of it. And then I went and bought it again. And I also live somewhere where the water is very hard. I didn't realize that when I moved here. Like, it ruined our washing machine, our really nice espresso maker, because we just didn't know we had to do different kinds of upkeep. And it's the same on the iron. You don't need to, oh, this is missing right here. You don't need to use filtered water, but you do need to get rid of all the calcium buildup. Oh, yeah. It is you, Terry. That's right. And then, yeah, Nancy has the Laura Star. Yeah, right, Hannah? I mean, I agree. Like, I think, like, I could have space for something, but at the same time, the stream setup really alters the way I would have my sewing room set up. And I'm fine with that. Like, don't think of it as a bad thing, like I'm like suffering or anything. You know what I mean? I would, if this was my sewing room and you guys weren't like here, I would have it so that my serger was right here and I could just go choo, 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 right? I can't do that with the cameras. It just doesn't work. I have to be a certain distance away from the computer. All right, Beverly, I'm top stitching the rear seat patch on. And because I need the flexibility, having like a whole iron, that would probably complicate my stream setup a little bit. And right now what I use is a wool mat, which I actually really love that wool mat. And I do it on a ugly gorilla shelf, you know. And then that way, because I have room for 2 machines and I have space underneath. So I'm going to do double stitch. I'm kind of hoping that'll cover up the little wrinkly bit. If you're doing a curve, try not to stop. You'll get a smoother curve. That looks kind of wide apart, but that looks pretty good though. It's almost like a bullseye for the butt. But here, this is perfect because when George, you know, wants to rear up and headbutt my husband, he'll have a spot. He'll know where to go. Poor George yesterday. George is the deer that's living at my house for some reason, and he's just there. I don't know why. I don't know who he is, where he's from, who hand raised him, because he's definitely been hand raised. But yesterday, Molly finally chased him. Molly finally saw there was a deer living in our yard. And George was like, eek, I'm out of here. So I named him George. I don't know what, he might have a real name, but I don't know. Is that pin just loose? No, 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 no. All right. Would a whole house water softener help that? Maybe. We're on a, well, it's better here at this house than it was at our old house. It's a very volcanic area. There's a lot of minerals in the water here. So, you know those really beautiful like sink faucets that are like the dark black or really dark brown colors, the metal, I don't know what that's called. That looks terrible here because all you see are water spots all over it. I have soapstone countertops and you can kind of see a little like halo of calcium on the counter near the drying area. It comes off, you just have to clean it off. But so my sink, so it, you know, it's like you've seen those places and you just think, wow, these people are terrible at maintaining their house. It's just a constant battle. You just gotta get used to it. Same with our shower head. You can see like buildup on there. You've got well water too, Len, yeah. Yeah, so it does seem better, but than when we were in the city. All right, we are gonna do one welt pocket. Okay. So let's do this one. Oh wait, let me make sure I'm not skipping a step. Yeah, no. Oh yeah, we're there. All right, Beverly, here we are. We're gonna do the dart first on the back. Did I just literally, I just took this out like I didn't need that mark. Don't you love that? Wow. Wow. Okay, so here we go. All right, so one of the things I did yesterday was I made a photocopy of this pattern piece. Can you see it? See that? So Terry, you might like this tip. I made a photocopy of this pattern piece on cardstock, and then I cut out the box on my size. So now I can just line this up onto my piece and then trace it out. Let's cut this off so we can line it up to the cut edge. And I just photocopied it. I didn't do anything fancy. I use this purple paper because I can't use this purple paper for anything else. It's too dark. I'm okay with the soapstone. It's okay. I like it. It's interesting, you know. I don't like that everything looks. It always looks like it needs to be wiped down because it's natural looking. All right, I should have done this on the back side, but we'll just do it like this. All right, so let's do the dart. This is on the back, the wrong side. I'm not going to hand tie this dart. I'm going to pivot at the end. If this were a blouse and the bust, I would hand tie it. But I have a feeling that I might accidentally clip those hand ties in the pocket process. So I'm just going to back stitch into the dart. I didn't go along the seam that I just sewed. I went, Brooke showed me this tip. We haven't seen Brookie in forever, huh? See, so I just went straight up. Right, Heidi? I just thought of it yesterday. I was like, I've done that before, and it just popped into my head, and I was like, that's right. This makes it so much easier. Because I was like, oh, I'm just going to, I kept pulling out the pattern piece, and then I was like going to trace it, and I was like, just photocopy it on cardstock. All right, I'm going to top stitch the dart. This is the other reason why I didn't mind not hand tying it, because you're top stitching the dart anyway. Press the dart towards the rise or the center back. So here's the rise, press the dart that way, and then top stitch it. All right, now we're ready to do our pocket. And I wrote myself notes, you can see right here. So So when I have something, one of these types of sewing steps, especially, I don't know how this person likes to sew welt pockets, right? So don't be hard on yourself when you get to something like a welt pocket and you're like, oh, anxiety. Everyone feels that way. And partly it's because every time you go to do it, it's a different way, right? Every time you go to sew someone's welt, they do it differently than what you mastered last time. So what I like to do is I go through and I break out this whole paragraph, even though it's nice and concise. It's very concise, the fact that there's like 3 or 4 steps in there, and I make a bulleted list, right? And then I sew through it a couple times. Like you see, I did the 2 samples, which are here somewhere. There you go. I did 2 samples. I did one where I kind of just kind of bumbled through it and kind of tried to decide what would I naturally want to do, so that I know if that's not the way, I shouldn't do it. And I think that that's good to do sometimes, because I'm always trying to make it the way I think it should be in my head. Or maybe it's not that I think it should be in a way that I think my way's right. It's more like I'm like, okay, this is what I think is going to happen, so I think this is probably the next step, you know? And then I'm like, oh, okay, that wasn't the next step, so I shouldn't assume. So then I go back, once I do it kind of the right way, and this was sewn correctly, but I experimented with a couple things, and this is the wrong side. Like, I made this the right side of the fabric. And then I do another one. This one, I was experimenting with my marking fabric. So for me, the tricky thing about this welt is remembering what I consider the right side of my pocket fabric and what's the wrong side of my pocket fabric. Because like I said, I want the pocket fabric to show on the inside of the shorts. So, oh, you're back stitching at the dark. Really, Beverly? No, we hand tie. Okay, so then I went through a couple times, and now I've made my own little list here. It's not different than their list. It's just the one that for me makes, like, it's really easy for me to understand. So, all right, so let's carry this pattern piece. We're gonna get one of the 2 of these actually, and then one of the pocket bag. Okay, they're symmetrical. It doesn't matter which ones you get. They're exactly the same for both pockets. There's not a left and a right. Honestly, in the pictures, it does look like one slopes more this way than the other one, but it's symmetrical. I think it's just an optical illusion. So it's kind of trying to show like perspective, you know? All right, so let's see. Maybe I should iron this a little better. Let me just iron this really quick. Where's my mouse? Come on, mouse. Doesn't like this surface here. I really should move this bin before I go flying. 3 years in streaming and I haven't tripped yet. And I haven't sat on my seat when it wasn't there. The things you worry about. This fabric's a little kooky. It's a lot kooky, I know. I think this was designed by Melody Miller before she was at Cotton and Steel and Ruby Star. Not that I keep track of a lot. All right, so we have this. First step, dart and top stitch. Second step, you're gonna mark the pocket, the box that we created with this piece of cardstock here. For me, is the right side of the short and the right side of the pocket lining. For me, that is the print side of the pocket lining. All right, so I'm going to use a Choco liner today. I'm having trouble getting out of there. All right, so we're going to line this up. A little tricky. I think that you should mark this before you put in your dart because the paper doesn't line up. What we can do is put in our dart. We'll just do it on the paper, you know? I'm just going to get rid of the start like this. All right. Now we have it on there. We can line up that seam right on top of the dart. A little tricky. I feel like I'm getting this angle though. I'm just going to kind of try and keep this box shape. So the other thing you can do is mark your box just by doing the dimensions of it, and it's 3/8 by 5.5. I think that that's really a good way to do it because the numbers don't lie. So then you have your box. It's 3/8 of an inch wide by, I think it's 5.5 long. Maybe 5 5/8. I think it's 5 5/8. So it looks more like that. All right, so we have that one there, and then on this one it'll be a little easier, kind of. So this one, make sure that you're centering it so that you have the same amount of seam allowance on each side. This one might be easier to do, honestly, with, I'm just going to mark right here with a ruler. Oh, my ruler's gone, though. I don't know why it's gone. I was using it yesterday. Oh, here it is. So let's just draw a straight line, because it really is kind of hard to tell. Let's mark this, get the center. Kind of figuring this out as I go, sorry. I'm going to fold. I'm just going to put a fold here, and I'm just lining up this raw edge to these notches, just so I have a straight line as a reference. That's all. Whatever it takes to get a straight line as a reference sometimes. All right, so let's draw a straight line here. We have our center right here. We need it to be 3/8 of an inch wide. This cargo pocket's kind of driving me crazy. I don't like using this ruler. It's handy though. So 5.5 is 2 3/4 in half. You can double check by then writing it 5.5. So you can mark your box. I'm just trying to show you can mark your box two ways. You can draw it on there, or you can just draw it on with a ruler with the measurements rather than using the box. Oh, yeah, does she, Terry? Oh, I think she does. I think you're right. Yeah. I saw that afterward. I was like, oh, there it is. Because I do find that to be helpful. I think, like, you should probably mark this box before you sew your dart. Because obviously, look at what it does. It squishes like a mouth. But when, you know, it's on the body, look, it straightens out. See, when you have that little shaping that the dart creates, it's fine. All right, let me get my... And, you know, I've only done 2 of these, and by the second one, I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, I'm still kind of getting the hang of it, and so I still kind of look at different ways to do it sometimes, you know. All right, now we're going to sew our facings on here, and I'm going to overlock these edges. So let's go do that real quick. That's awesome, you guys. I'm glad it doesn't look like I don't know what I'm doing. I just I'm just honestly just don't know how they do it. So I'm just trying to figure out what they like, how they like to do their pattern. The way I look at it is it's really good to try and figure out a way that seems really logical, and that's what I'm trying to do. That way you can approach it with like, okay, wait, what would be the logic about this, you know? And then that way you can kind of approach anything like that. And I'm always like kind of thinking, okay, what would be faster? What would be easier? What would make more sense? Okay, maybe this wouldn't be faster, but I won't get lost doing it, you know, like certain things. So I was trying to find a way that makes the most sense. All right, so I'm going to put this on the wrong side, the inside. For me, this is the inside of the pocket. We're going to put these facings. And there are 2 notches on each of these long sides, and you're going to put this facing above that notch, so toward the top of the pocket. So now both these ends are the top of the pocket. It's just like that and like this. And there's a little bit of a gentle shape here, so make sure you line it up to line up with the edges here. Wait, this might be the right side, that's the right way. My fabrics are different from each other, so they're definitely a little bit wonkier. I'm just making sure here. There should be another notch, right? Yeah, okay. So then I'm just gonna top stitch this down. I'm not really going to go to the trouble of clean finishing, turning it under, and then sewing it down because it creates a little bit of bulk by turning under the edges, and truly no one's really going to see the inside of this pocket. It's a pretty tight space. So one of these is going to act like the welt that shows in the opening, the mouth of the pocket. The other one is going to show, like I think this one's going to be the welt, as the backsplash. So if you look inside the pocket, you see the facing. That's why there's 2. Oh, that's true, Glenn. Sometimes I'm trying to cut corners to make it faster for you guys, and I shouldn't do that. I really shouldn't. Okay, so now this one, remember we have our box on here. Looks kind of straight. Kind of want to straighten this out a little better. I like that idea, Glenn. Drawing it on the ham. I don't have a ham, but I have a salami, but I want to make a ham. And I think in the Sewing Weekender, they gave a tutorial for that. I think that'd be fun to use someone's thing for that. All right, so now we attach the pocket facings to the wrong side or the inside of the pocket. And we're going to now stitch our box. So we're going to put this, I had to think about this. You're going to put this with the facing side towards the pant, and you're going to line up your box. So this little notch at the top is going to go to your dart right there. So that lines up just like that. And so you might need to adjust it a little bit to get your box right on top of the box that you drew on there. So I will tell you guys, normally I wouldn't even mark this box. I would probably just give myself a little reference so that I knew about where it was. Because now, as long as I'm getting this pretty much lined up on top of the other one, this is the one I'm going to see when I'm sewing. So this is the inside of the pocket with the pocket facing towards the right side of the pant. And now we're going to stitch around this box. And I recommend not starting in a corner, because when you do your back stitch, you don't really want it to be in the corner. I do that half the time because I forget to do it. So I'm just telling you because I always forget. Kind of smoothing out my pant underneath by kind of cupping it like this. So I'm just going to start kind of in the middle of this box, follow my new line that I drew, and get rid of all this junk here. And you want to be pretty precise with this box, so sink your needle into the corner. Now, one thing that's nice about this style of welt is that if you go one stitch longer or shorter, because this is the welt, you actually have some wiggle room. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't take it out over and over again and get it. And now you really want a nice parallel box at this stage. You're kind of trying to get it, you know, centered on your pocket bag. Try and do the same number of stitches on the end. That'll help too. And then just meet your beginning here like that. And now we're going to cut that typical welt slit in here, the Y. I'll draw a picture of it for you. Do I have a marker here? No one will see this. So you want to get right into these corners here, right? And then straight down, and same thing here. You know this cut. Oh, really? That's cool, Livy. I'm gonna have to look that up. I thought that she was not in the United States. Am I getting her confused with a different designer? All right, so I'm just gonna get this kind of started. You can use your rotary knife. It doesn't really matter if it's jagged, but you know. So get up here, and then you want to get right into the corner. Don't be shy about this, but don't go through. You know? This right here determines how crisp that these corners will be. That and your stitches, you know, if you tend to run long stitches, this might be one area. When you stitch this box, do smaller stitches, meaning shorter in length. Get it nice and tight, you know. I think, you know, I've thought about one strategy to cut something like this could be the buttonhole chisel. Sorry, I have one here. Yeah, this guy, if you have one of these, I actually not liking using it to cut buttonholes, but I think for doing something like a welt, wouldn't that be really good? Look at that, you can get straight right into the corner, bam, you know? Oh, she is Danish. Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember if she was Danish or Russian because I just learned about a Russian pattern company at the same time I bought these. Yeah, and 3/8 is really typical for knitwear sewing in the industry. I like 1/2 inch for wovens, so, but this is fine. All right, so here we are. Let me look at my thing. Okay, we're gonna press and turn this to the inside. Fold our welt. I'm trying to look what step number we are for Beverly. So right now I just did step 12 and now I'm going to step 13. And then where's the, oh, there it is. Okay, okay. All right, we're gonna turn this now, this pocket bag into the inside, but I'm gonna iron it a little first before I do. Oh, North Korea, oh, cool. I've noticed that when she replies to, like, she sent me a couple Instagram DM, like, responding to certain things. And the timing made me realize, oh, yeah, she's in Europe. Because it's always, like, at 11:30 at night. No one's checking their phone at 11:30 night, not me. I'm just doing this to make this a little easier when I turn it to the right side. All right, so let's pull all this through. Now, you guys, when you do this, it's gonna feel like a hot mess, okay? This feels like a hot mess and you're like, it's never gonna lay flat. I promise it's gonna be totally fine. So just calm down, take your time with this spot right here, and then just start pulling on it. And look at that, we have a nice box there. See it? And so let's just press, just pressing that seam allowance up, and then we're gonna get this nice and pressed. It always feels like a hot mess when you pull it through, and it feels like it's never gonna lay right, but it will. And then I have tips for you if things go kind of badly, how you can cover it up and no one will know, and it'll look totally like a ready to wear method. All right, so now we're gonna fold this up. This is your welt right here, okay? And so one of the things I think that is good is if this seam allowance right here on the bottom part of the pocket stays down, and it's gonna wanna go up even if you iron it down. I say this because we're going to edge stitch this in a second, and you're going to want some fabric behind the edge stitch. All right, so we're going to fold this up. Basically, you're making a 3/8 inch welt, but what I just recommend is keep lining it up to the opening of your pocket, keeping it nice and even. It's really parallel. Nice, Heidi. Yeah, this style is really easy to sew. Very clever. I haven't done this kind in a long time, and I've never done it where they put the facing here and here. I think that's so genius. Because, you know, now look, when this lines up, you see this behind it. Same pattern piece. I love that. That is such an industry thing to use the same pattern piece for same things. All right. So now we have this ironed. We have our seam allowance pressed down, okay? Oh, I have kind of a mess on the floor today. Hi, Gregory. Welcome. That's nice to hear. Yeah, this is my first time sewing her patterns too. Yeah, and I really struggled to find like a lot of menswear patterns this year. I've made a couple of the Thread Theory. I love her stuff. I just wanted to try something new. So I'm always open. Okay, so now we're gonna edge stitch this right here on the right side of the garment. I could probably have ironed this from this side too. We're only gonna edge stitch between here and here on the lower side of the pocket. We're kind of sealing the deal for that welt. So now our welt's in there. So just line up with the edge, the opening. I'm gonna just pull this a little bit so that it's nicer. All right, easy peasy, right? Trim your thread. My thread's so dark. Shows every mistake. Okay, and then now we're going to, we have top stitch under the box. Now we're going to finish the pocket sides and we're top stitch. We'll have 2 more steps, all right? So I'm gonna, again, do the welt, or not the welt pocket, but I'm going to sew, wait, is that what I wanted to do? Yeah. So I'm gonna sew my pocket right sides together, the pocket bag. So I'm gonna fold it like this. Is that what I did? Oh yeah, I did. It's feeling weird because my sample was this short. But yeah, I just sewed it so that the inside was nice and clean. So I'm gonna put this right sides together, right? Yeah. Get all these threads to the seam allowance. Just going to do like a 1/4 inch seam. By the way, your welt's done. Like, you already did it. Like, that was it. So when you're sewing this seam, don't pull, because the welt right here is just like an accordion pleat right there. You see that? So keep that nice and flat. All right, I'm going to just trim this a little bit. I'm kind of making a French seam, you know. Let's just trim this a little bit. I don't think I'm going to clip, I'm just going to clip a little bit of this corner. I don't really think you need to on soft fabric like this, but you know. All right, so we're going to do the same thing on this side. A little tricky since my shorts are so big. Not so big, but you know what I mean, like it's not the little sample I did. Makes it a little hard to keep it nice and accurate. You don't have to do this, by the way. You could just sew it the other, like sew it so that it's you're not turning it right side out. Like, especially if you wanted to serge it. You could have just folded it up and serged it. All right, so now we're going to turn this. I'm going to trim this a tiny bit. All right, he's got a nice teacup on his butt. I kind of wanted the watch to be there, but that was a little too much mental gymnastics to figure out where that was going to end up. All right, so I'm just going to make this edge look nicer, and then I'm going to edge stitch here. We have one more stitch to go to make our welt pocket look nicer. So it's done, but it's not done, all right? You can see there's that little, you know, classic triangle for the welt. To a burrito, yep. I just wanted my edge nice and clean, you know, so I just basically am doing a French seam. You don't have to, though. Alright, so I'm just going to sew this seam. I probably don't even have to do this, but it does make it nice and flat, and it's going to keep all those raw edges kind of enclosed in there. It doesn't really matter about this triangle. You can catch it or not. It's not like some welts you really have to like catch that whole triangle, and it's like a whole pivotal point of the welt. This one you don't really need to do that. I want this thread gone. My fabric's a little thick, so it's a little hard to roll this edge and keep it nice and crisp. Oh my God, there's 62 people here. Welcome! I feel like a circus performer when I'm doing these kinds of things. I kind of wish I would have done this from the other side. In fact, I'm just going to flip it right now. I like seeing this side, you know? I don't want that mystery. We're not about that. All right, so I'm just enclosing my seam allowance. That's all right now. There we go. That looks better. Okay. So this is the inside of our welt. Now, I'm going to stitch around the 3 remaining sides of this pocket, and I'm going to go straight through the pocket bag. I'm going to admit, I read the instructions for this a few times, and I couldn't quite tell. I think the way she does it, and she might be more skillful than me, is that she lifts up the pocket bag and doesn't stitch it. So meaning what she does is she moves the pocket bag out of the way and then stitches this edge. I don't find there's any reason to have to do that because, oh, I kind of wish I wouldn't have stitched that. Oh no, I didn't stitch that. Oh, I got a little slack in my welt there. Probably when I did this seam because it was so thick. But she keeps it separate from the pocket bag, but it doesn't matter. You don't need this to be loose at all. So I might be just misunderstanding, and she's doing it the exact same way. But I do have a little bit of slack in my welt there, so I'm going to kind of tuck it in there. Pull this over. So now if you really had a bad time with maybe your corners here and it didn't go so well, don't be too hard on yourself, first of all. Second of all, if you have a zigzag stitch, we're just going to zigzag right over that. I don't have a zigzag on my industrial, but let me show you how my husband's look to show you what I mean, because that's what they did. I have a little bump there, so hopefully my next one is better. I fell off the edge here. Womp womp. Ooh, my seam allowance is pushing my machine. I don't like that. Okay, well, I really don't like that. I'm going to take this out. So right here, what I'm talking about on this edge here, see how mine's a little slack here? I'm going to press that and it's all going to be fine. But say you have some raw threads showing in your corner here and you're a little bit like, I don't want to take it out. It's a little fragile right there. You don't have to. If you have a zigzag machine that can go through whatever your fabric is, look what they did on my husband's. Because I pulled these out for sizing. They just zigzagged right over that. I was going to say a bad word, but I don't swear on stream. So you see that on the ends here. So you could just do a bar tack here and be like, I reinforced it for you. You know what I mean? Hi, Elena. Hi, Florentine. How's it going? You're leaving? Oh, going on a vacation. Nice. Good for you. Good for you. All right, I'm going to take out this stitches. I think it'll be easier to do it from the back side. I highly recommend you do that if you can. It's like you're trying to remove some stitches in your welt. If you can do it from the back side or the side that's not showing, you might be able to be gentler on your fabric and not worry so much, you know. I'm just going to take this out. I shouldn't have just stitched right over it to fix it, but it was like in my head since I was talking about the zigzag thing. That never really goes like you think it's going to go. But the zigzag thing is great. I've seen that done also on the welt of the Tamarack jacket that's by Grainline, right? And I think that's an excellent little, you know, only you and I know. So let's take these stitches out right here. There we go. Does Sarah like back stitches right there? No, she doesn't. Let's fluff up these holes a little bit because I just want the fabric to relax a little bit. All right. I'm kind of tempted to take it all out so I don't have a back stitch right here, but I can do that if I want later. We'll just try it. Let's try and get my holes back in the same spot. If you're new here, I just don't like back stitches when they're really prominent. All right, so I'm gonna make my pressure of my presser foot a lot more. Oh yeah, that helped a lot. That's one of the single biggest tools I love about the industrial. It still looks a little wiggly though, you see that? That looks a lot wiggly on camera. God, the color, ouch, the color is really bad. Look up here, it's a little better. It's more like, well, you can kind of see it when I do it like this. It's like that Carhartt brown, kinda. You can kind of see the little bit of warmth to it. It's kind of washed out on my table. Let's press it. Buy myself a little bit of time getting it better. Looks good on this side though, huh? No one's gonna see this side though. See all this fabric up here, look at that. It's not even a part of the pocket. So the pocket is pretty shallow. This is going to be a case where my other one looks a lot better, I think, right? Yeah, I mean, this is okay. I can't really get in there very good. And I don't want to get these little, like, shiny bits, you know? I think I'll leave it. It's not too bad, but this right here bugs me. So what would I do right now to fix this if I wasn't that interested? Night, Malin. Nice seeing you. Thanks for coming. So what if I was like really bugged by this? What would I do? How far back do I have to go? I actually don't have to go back that far. I do have to remove this top stitching, which in some fabrics may be a little bit dicey, especially if you picked a fabric that has like a really smooth face or snags easy, you know? I'm trying to think of a good example, but I feel like, you know, if you were doing kind of a dressier pair or kind of an interesting fabric, that's a good idea, Nancy. I could have used a press cloth. I never do that, do I? But I think, you know, I would remove this top stitching, and then I would probably remove this stitching right here of the, when I finished the pocket in there, and I would pull this a little bit further in and just smoothed it out. I would also iron it a little bit better before I did this last stitch. Part of the problem is that every stitch is showing because I have 2 strands of thread through my needle, and that would be another thing. Maybe I don't want to call a whole lot of attention to the stitching of this pocket, so I could just take out 1 strand of thread here, and then that would make it look less obvious, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know. Why not reduce reduce the way it looks, you know, the calling attention to it. I am going to take it out. I'm going to take it out, and then I don't think I have anything to lose. This is a pretty easy welt to manage. I didn't get any weak spots in the corners where, you know, that can happen, you know, like when you're sewing the box and cutting it, and then maybe you got one corner a little bit off and then you went back over it. I've done that too. So, you know. Hi, Julie. How's it going? Welcome, welcome. We're just kind of wrapping up. So I'm only doing 1 welt today, and then on Saturday when I finish these shorts, I'll be doing the other welt pocket, just so that everyone can see it on both streams. And, you know, thanks for subscribing, Jeannie. Welcome, welcome. Everyone here is really awesome. You're in a good group here. They only give me a problem, not each other. No, guys are awesome. Yeah, so Saturday I'm going to finish these up. So I'm going to do the other welt pocket. We'll do the zipper fly, the waist treatment, because it's not a waistband. It is a facing, kind of a smoother finish. And side seams, inseam, hems, all that hoo-ha. So I will fix this one. Oh, don't pull that. You're just making it tight, Sarah. But it's so tempting. There we go. And then if you're interested in more menswear, next week I'll be making the same company, Wardrobe by Me, and I'm doing the chino pants. So I'm kind of excited to see if it's the same welt pocket. I'll bet it is. I'll be a lot better about it by then too, right? Am I making this look difficult or what? You don't have to suffer through this. It's partly because I have one strand in my bobbin, and so the bobbin's a little bit, it's not tight, like the tension's pretty good actually, but it definitely, I feel like I'm pulling against those two upper threads, and I really don't want to snag anything, so all I have is this long stitch to do. Whenever you have a problem with something and you're a little bit like, I am done, try and do this part first. Try and take it out, at least. Get it back to ground zero. Then walk away. Have your glass of wine or your bowl of ice cream or both. Shot of tequila. I don't know what you'd like. But then when you're ready to come back to fix it, hopefully not after all of that, because you may not be in the best state, but it does seem really easy then. It just feels like it's not as aggravating, because if you have to come back to take it out, you're already a little irked, you know? But if you have to come back to a clean slate, it kind of helps. Helps the motivation too. I am one of those people that if I have a problem with it, it really bugs me. Like, I can't really let this sit. I also don't like it when I have a problem. What if I can't get back to it for a couple weeks? I may forget what I decided on my solution. I do that with patterns, because I have to chip away at making patterns. And then I'll figure something out. I'll be like, you know what? I don't like that. And I start figuring it out, and then I can't work on it anymore. And then I have to, like, come back to it. And I'm just like, shoot, what did I figure out? What was my genius idea? Oh, maybe that wasn't so genius after all. It's like, if I can't remember it, right? A few more stitches and I'll let you guys go. You can ditch me if you want. I understand. If you're new here, though, consider subscribing. I'm almost to 10,000, which is pretty exciting. My 3-year anniversary is in August. I live stream Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. I post the schedule on Instagram, and I try to post it here on the community tab on YouTube. I'm just thinking now that I didn't do that for July. What else, you guys? All right, cool. So we got the top stitching out. I wonder how necessary the top stitching is. How necessary is the top stitching? What if you're like, I like the way my welt looks and I can't get the top stitching to look good. Could you leave your welt without it? I wonder if you could do something like this, where you just stitch down in the seam allowance here and left it with no top stitching. Especially if you're doing a fabric that was a little bit unforgiving. Like, I'm thinking about those fabrics that have a different warp and weft color. And I feel like sometimes when you top stitch those fabrics, especially in an area where there's a lot of thickness, it so ever so gently, you know, makes the stitch, and because it's pushing away the weave of the fabric, you start seeing one of the fibers going through, or threads, like the warp or the weft, and so you see like maybe black around, like outlining each of your holes, because the warp is black and the weft was gray. You know what I mean? So, oh, I've heard of the chinos. Yeah, right? I think so, you guys, right? Like, what if we did, I want to still fix this little bit of the welt kind of pushing in here. This one right here, it's actually flat. It's more that I folded it a little too high. You see what I mean? Like, this is a little too, or the box is a little bigger over here. I think honestly not top stitching this for this end would be a better solution. So let's see if I can get rid of the needle holes. We'll see what we think. But I definitely want to get rid of this little bit of a bump. Can you guys see that? Little bit of a bump here. Yeah, right, Terry? I think so. Just like, boop. We like easy. Sometimes easy and simple is just such a nice look, you know? All right, well, cool. Well, I'm glad you guys could come. So we got our backs done. We have our fronts ready for the zipper fly. We have our crazy pocket fabric. No one's told my husband yet, thankfully. It's got that kind of lounge, you know, vibe, so I think you'll like it. So, cool. All right, that's it. That's it for today. Yeah, you're welcome, Susu. Nice. Oh, okay. Which pattern are you doing, Susu? Who's the Sasha trousers by, Lynn, and the Chi-Town chinos? Who are those two done by? I've heard of both those. Sasha's are closet core, right? I might have those. I really don't have a whole lot of patterns I haven't sewn, but I do have, I probably have like 20. That probably sounds like a lot to you guys, but I have so many patterns. I think I have about 20 I haven't sewn. I've been, one pattern company's been sending them to me on release, which is really awesome. It always comes at a bad time for me, but I'm planning on sewing all of them. I've gotten 2 so far. So, summer pants. Oh, okay. Are those men's or women's? Oh, Alina does the Chi-Town. Right. I haven't made any Alina. Yeah, and closet core for the Sasha. Okay, yeah. Cool. All right, you guys. Well, I'm gonna check out the summer pants. I'm kind of surprised my husband's down for the chinos. Like, I don't think I have seen him in pants like that. Dang. When have I seen him in pants? Besides when we got married. I don't know. Probably when he was working at Kokatat and we had the military contracts and he had to go to those shows. He had to dress nice for that. Not in outdoor clothes. Like outdoor industry uniform is a little different, so. Sasha's have the fuzzy corners. Ah, yeah, just zigzag that stuff. You know, like knitters always say, just block that out. Just zigzag that stuff. You reinforce it. You're like putting in a bar tack. It's like good. All right, guys, I will see you Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. Have a good Friday. Happy sewing. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the donations, you guys. You were really awesome. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.